Personal story segment tonight, as mentioned, the president made it very personal between him and CNN at the press conference.
I watch CNN, it's so much anger and hatred and just the hatred. I don't watch it anymore. I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone. You know the word tone. The tone is such hatred. You look at your show that goes on at 10 o'clock in the evening. You just take a look at that show. That is a constant hit. The panel is almost always exclusive anti-Trump. The good news is he doesn't have good ratings.
Immediately after the press conference, CNN discussed it.
If you are a soldier in harm's way right now, if you are a hungry child in Appalachia or the inner city, if you are an unemployed worker in a hollow shell of a steel town, that's not a president who seemed rather focused on your particular needs and wants. That's a president focused on his bad press. It was unhinged. It was wild.
And joining us now from Miami, Bernie Goldberg. So what say you?
Well, let's acknowledge, Bill, that there were a lot of reporters in that room at that press conference who didn't like Donald Trump when he was running for president. They don't like him now that he is president. And if he suddenly acted more presidential, they still wouldn't like him. And what he did today is red meat to the base that hates the media anyway. So I get all that. I understand that. But he came across to me the way he always comes across, as needlessly thin-skinned and overly defensive. Look, he said at one point, the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I don't know what that means, but I do know that to Donald Trump, President Trump, any news he doesn't like is fake news. And then he brings up the debate where Hillary Clinton was fed questions in advance. What does that have to do with what's going on now? This is the most powerful man
Well, let me
on
tell
the
you,
planet.
look, here's how I see it.
Well,
Number
let me
one,
just finish this half a sentence.
All right.
He's the most powerful man on the planet, and he can't take a shot.
He doesn't like taking shots, but there's a method to his madness. Number one, he's trying to make the point that the press is an arm of the Democratic Party, which really subverts.
It is.
And that subverts
our
our democracy. It subverts it. So that's a big, important point, that the national press is an arm of the Democratic machine. Very dangerous. And number two, by making this front and center, as we discussed with John Roberts, he deflects away from other unpleasant things, like the resignation of his national security advisor. So in that, it's brilliant. And the third reason is his ability to downgrade the credibility of the press is unprecedented in this nation. He is putting a huge hurt on them. He is.
Right. What about us, Bill? You and me,
okay,
and other people who do what we do. When Barack Obama attempted to delegitimize Fox News, and he did it in an offhanded way, he didn't go crazy over it. We did segment after segment after segment.
But he banned us, and then the other news agencies, and I'm thinking about that today, said, look, if you don't let Fox News in on a pool, we're not going to come either.
Right, but my point is that when President Obama went after Fox News, we pointed that out, and we were really concerned about it. We said that's not a good thing.
No basis
and now he does it to CNN, and somehow it's okay.
But you're comparing it, CNN, to Fox News. Let me make this case. From sign on to sign off on CNN, all right, from the early morning to the late night, there isn't one show host or anchor, not one, who is favorable to President Trump. Not one. 6 months ago, from sign on to sign off on CNN, every single host and anchor was favorable to Barack Obama. So when he says, all right, the level of hatred and the tone is unfair and bad for the nation, it's hard to argue with that, is it not?
No, you make a good point. But here's my advice to the president, who may, in fact, be watching us right now. When Muhammad Ali, the great Muhammad Ali, walked into the arena and walked down the aisle to get into the ring with either Joe Frazier or George Foreman or somebody like that, if some guy in the 10th row said, hey, Ali, you're a bum, Ali didn't respond to that because champions don't respond.
But it's
to
a different
every
situation.
Slight.
Trump,
it isn't a different
yes,
situation.
It is. And
he
hear
is
me.
so thin-skinned.
Hear
Phil,
me.
don't you see how thin-skinned this man is?
I'm not going to say he's not thin-skinned, but I'm saying to you that his point is that it's harder for him to run the nation when the press is actively trying to subvert him. That a guy like Putin says, oh, Trump's not going to be able to do anything. The press is killing him. So it's harder for Trump to make a deal. So this is much bigger than just a personal thin-skinned thing.
Well,
It's harder to run the country because these dishonest people are undermining the whole process. That's his point. Last word.
But this is why Jake Tapper used the word unhinged, a word I didn't use, but frankly a word that I'm starting to understand. He's too thin-skinned, and he goes after everybody who takes a shot at him. He's incapable of taking a shot and saying, well, you know what, some people don't like me, I'm moving on. He's just incapable of it.
No.
And he's playing to his base because they love it. And that's a big mistake.
I've taken some shots at him. He still talks to me. So I don't think it's that universal. But he is a president who is going to fight back. And his, as you pointed out, his base loves that. Bernie Goldberg, everybody. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. We'll continue our coverage of the Pressman's lively press conference today with Chris Wallace providing some perspective and Judge Pirro with the out.
To the American people, these are campaign promises. Some people are so surprised that we're having strong borders. Well, that's what I've been talking about for a year and a half, strong borders. They're so surprised. Oh, he having strong borders. Well, that's what I've been talking about to the press and to everybody else. One promise after another, after years of politicians lying to you to get elected.
Continuing now with our lead story, President Trump's 1 hour and 17-minute press conference today. Joining us from Washington, Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace. Before we get to overall impression, you know, Goldberg and I differ. He thinks the president is a bit unhinged. I do not. You say?
Well, look, there were some moments in there that made me uncomfortable when Donald Trump said it would be good politics to blow that Russian spy ship out of the water. I'm not sure that was a great moment for diplomacy, but no, he wasn't unhinged. I think that this was a determined effort by this president, who is by far the best spokesman in his administration, for his administration, to seize the narrative. There's a growing talk here in Washington that there's chaos. You know, you've got John McCain talking about there's disarray in the White House. There have been some real problems. It's not all just a narrative. And this was a president saying, I'm in charge. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to bend to Washington. Washington's going to have to get used to me.
He was defiant, but in a low-key way. I didn't see any hysteria. And for your submarine analogy, he made that by saying, look, some people would like to see me blow it out of the water, this Russian submarine 30 miles off the U.S. coast in international waters, but I'm not going to do that because I want peace. And then he went into a peace thing. I don't know why that would have made you uncomfortable. I mean, that kind of reassured me he wasn't Dr. Strangelove.
Well, I remember when Ronald Reagan talked about we're going to bomb the Soviet Union in 5 minutes as he was doing a radio check for. I just don't think the president should even talk about that. But no, the fact was that overall, I thought that he was in control. It's his style. It's not, Donald. It's not Barack Obama's, and I'm sure there are a lot of your viewers out there saying, "Thank God." And he seized control of the narrative and said, "Chaos." Heck no, it's running like a smoothly tuned machine.
There's a story in the Washington Post that says General Flynn may have lied to the FBI. It's always couched. And as you know, the president didn't answer John Roberts' direct question about whether he saw a transcript of the phone call. And we haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, whether the president, he implied that his national counsel told him there was nothing wrong in the phone call. That's what the president implied. But the bigger story could be, look, if Flynn did lie to the FBI, you should have known it, blah, 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 blah. So here's the question. He's never going to get a fair shake in most of the national media. He's not. You know it, and I know it.
No, but in the end, and this is why I think you can overstate the importance of this news conference. In the end, what we say, honestly, doesn't matter. And you know,
Why
the
doesn't
kind
it
of
matter,
reviews he
though?
gets.
If you
no,
hear
because,
the same
because
thing
in the
every
end, it's
day
gonna be,
that he's an evil, incompetent,
in the end,
why
it's going to
wouldn't
be
that
results. And I think too many White Houses, and I've always, when I covered Reagan, I thought this, stop paying attention to us and do your job. And the fact is that if, you know, he improves the economy, if he gets tax reform through, if he gets Obamacare repeal and an effective replace through, then it's not going to matter. And conversely, if he doesn't get that stuff through and people's lives don't change, then he could have all the positive press in the world and it isn't going to matter.
Here's what I think you're missing. He has succeeded now in downgrading the press so much, no matter what they say, 50% of the country is not going to believe him. And he did it. He downgraded the credibility of the national media. So now, even if they say something true, most people aren't going to believe it. And that's an advantage to him.
But here's, respectfully, Bill, where I think you're missing the point. He didn't get in trouble. We didn't have all this talk about, is this administration in trouble because of the media. It was because of facts. It's because Mike Flynn lied to the Vice President of the United States. It's because
that wasn't what the media was spinning.
His labor secretary had not 2, not 3, but 5 strikes against him. It's because the executive order was a mess. So in the end, he's going to rise or fall on the merits of what he accomplishes, not on whether he gets a good or bad press.
All right. Chris Wallace, everybody. And you don't have to be respectful. I mean, you can just...
Well, I was saying it rhetorically.
You don't need that here. You know, you're an idiot, O'Reilly. Here's where you're wrong. I mean, okay.
Well, that was the subtext.
We'll see you on Sunday. We come right back, Judge Pirro, on the outrage of the week, and it is incredible. And Waters talking to some illegal aliens about President Trump.